Thank you. Thank you to you all. Thank you, Program Director, my dear sister Alicia Jali. I didn't know your other name is Nontantla, so I'll popularize that. And thank you very much, Minister Notol Kivit. I'd like to extend my greetings to ministers and deputy ministers who are here present, as well as premiers of our various provinces and the leadership, board members and management of the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation and its related entities such as Adopt a School Foundation, Black Umbrellas, and others. And I also want to extend my greetings to Charles Mulapisi, the CEO of MTN, and the various executives who are here present, as well as the leaders of various other businesses. And I see that one of the key executives from Huawei, who has always been a partner to the work that the foundation does. And greetings also to community leaders and government officials and our sponsors, of course, and the golfers who took time to come and play, especially my partner, Buitepehi Pakwe, who is an outstanding young man who hits a ball as straight as an arrow and who parred many holes and scored a very handsome score. I don't know if I can announce that. Should I tell them? Should I? 76, which is phenomenal. And he has represented and represents his province, the Free State, in the various golf tournaments. And we are Ak Vrystaat indeed. We are in him seeing the emergence of a professional golfer. That's what he'd like to be. And if he's not that, he wants to be a sports executive. I put a lot of hope in him becoming our Tiger Woods. So there's a lot of hope for him. And of course, I want to give special thanks to MTN, our headline or anchor sponsor. Charles, when you spoke about MTN being 30 years old, this is something that we often omit to acknowledge as a country as we celebrate 30 years of our democracy. What we did in getting MTN set up, and I was there when MTN as well as Vodacom came through to want the then apartheid government wanted to give out licenses to anyone for mobile telephony. And I remember Andy Lengaba, who was then the key technology person in the ANC, rushed to me when we were at the World Trade Center negotiating the new constitution in 1983 and said, Welcome, the then minister wants to hand out mobile licenses. And they had already identified who they wanted. New government comes in, we would cancel those licenses. They got terrified. That then started the negotiations, proper negotiations, with Cable and Wireless and Vodafone and MTN and Vodacom black players coming through. And I remember Joe Slovo, who we were involved in negotiations with, kept saying to me, Secretary General, SG, you're wasting your time with all this. We want power. Just leave all these technology things aside. And I said, well, this is where power is really going to reside, in setting up the proper system. So we are really proud that MTN and Vodacom are products of our democracy. We should be talking proudly about how we created a giant in MTN that spans 21 countries on our continent, but has become the number one mobile telephony on the African continent, and Vodacom, which is the biggest mobile telephony company in our country. And we need to celebrate that and add that to the many things, even as we talk about Tinswalo. Now, it's a source of pride for me to be associated with this initiative, which has gone on, as you correctly say, Minister Kivit, for 25 years. With every president who has come in the 25-year period, they are asked to nominate, if you like, a charity that they would like to see this initiative supporting. And successively, they have nominated. And because I've been associated with the foundation for the longest time, it's a real pleasure for me to continue being part of it. When I started, I was the chairman of the foundation. I'm now the patron. Last night, as you know, when I delivered the State of the Nation address, I had the opportunity to inform South Africans where we have come from and the tremendous progress that we have achieved as a nation and as a country. And this is the year when we are going to be talking about what we have done, we have achieved. It's not MTN that is a clear representation of what we have achieved, but it is the story of many of our people. Yesterday, I mentioned the life of Tinswalo. Now, you know how many people have come on social media saying, I'm Tinswalo as well, I'm Tinswalo, and so on. I've been saying it's Zinswalo, Tinswalo, and so on and so on. But they've also been asked very odd questions. Tell us more about Tinswalo. She finished education. Did she fall in love with somebody? You see, South Africans always want the juicy parts. They want to know, who's their first boyfriend, and so on and so on. So I do have all those details. I know Tinswalo very well. And some have been saying, I'm Tinswalo's father. I am not Tinswalo's father. If anything, Tinswalo is Nelson Mandela's daughter. She was born in 1994. As he's the father of democracy, he's her father. So that's what we should celebrate. We focus on education in the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation. And as you have seen on the video, it's been phenomenal work. The pamphlet on your table tells you precisely what one of the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation entities has been able to do. The Adopt a School Foundation, which has now adopted 663 schools. Initially, when we started with the Nickel here, I thought we would adopt up to 20,000 schools. As we were drafting the original papers, I said, in a few years, we will have adopted all the schools. It proved to be much more difficult to do so. And we were really inspired by what the it's contained in the Freedom Charter, that we should focus on opening the doors of learning. And as I said yesterday, the doors of learning have really opened. In our school system alone, aside universities and colleges, there were 13 million children, 13 million learners. Prior to that, our schools were attended intermittently, and there would be every excuse for children not to go to school, from not having money at home for school fees, no money for uniforms, and no money to get onto a taxi or whatever to go to school, and poverty at home, and what have you. The new democracy has solved many of those problems. As a democratic state, we have made considerable progress and gains in laying down the foundations for a world-class education system, which at times we denigrate. We denigrate and have all manner of descriptions and label it. For instance, when we participate in this international competition, which we entered to see how our own education is progressing. And yes, we always come right at the bottom. And why do we come at the bottom? Because we are competing against countries that have had generations and generations of good education. Like Russia. The population of Russia is the best reading population in the world. Like countries in the Nordic area, Canada and places like that. And these are developed countries in many, many respects, and they've developed their own education system to the highest level. And we coming in with our 30-year experience, competing against 500 years of experience. And what that does is to give us a benchmark. In many countries on the African continent, you will have seen, don't compete because they know where they stand. They are still developing their own education systems. It doesn't mean that we don't have weaknesses. Our education system has enormous weaknesses, largely because of our past. If you recall very well, the apartheid government used to spend something like 13 rand on the education of white children, and only, I think, 1 rand 30 on the education of a black child. I recently went to the school that I attended 54 years ago in Limpopo. They took me through the school, they showed me the class I was in, and they also showed the desk that they say I sat in. I think they were pulling wool over my eyes, because a desk that will have survived 54 years, I still have to see. But the classroom was the same. And I found that the school was much worse than when I attended it. And Limpopo has 3,600 schools. And one of the HODs of education said a number of years ago, the neglect by the apartheid system of the schools in Limpopo was so huge that it would take the democratic government 75 years, literally 75 years, to bring them up to start. And we don't have the budget for it, much as education is our biggest spend in our budgetary architecture. So a huge task, a massive task, to ensure that our education system is made to... Yes, please, thank you. Thank you. But I did have water on my desk. Won't you bring that rather than open a new one? No wastage. So our education system is improving. As I said yesterday, the joy is the silent revolution that is happening, that the children from schools in the deep rural areas, in our townships, no schools, quintile 1, 2, and 3, are now producing the highest pass rates for bachelor pass as well as diploma. 60 pass rate comes from those schools, no fee schools. This is a real revolution, a real change, that the talent that resides in those schools is now being eked out. It is coming to the fore. And if you heard that video that the young lady was talking to, and Sean, the young man who's an engineer, he said that one of the schools that we constructed a grade R. And the grade R's ones who are now producing the metric results that we have seen. Because that is when early childhood development process started in earnest with grade R. And it shows that, yes, we should have started much more earlier with early childhood development. Because when those children are brought into the school system, a more formal learning system, at an earlier age, formal in the sense that they are no longer just being left to the wiles of the grannies and the aunties in garages and all that. They are brought into the formal education system. They then give us 82.9%. And this is phenomenal. This is what is phenomenal. So we're very proud of that. And as you've heard, the foundation is an independent, non-profit benefit organization. And I'm honored to be the patron. They kicked me out as the chairman, said they want a better chairman, and I can just be a patron. Now, from the beginning, what the foundation focused on was education, as well as supporting small Black-owned businesses. We wanted to support 100% Black-owned businesses through the Black Umbrellas entity that is part of the entities of the foundation. And we are very pleased these processes are helping to empower our society, and the strategic intent remains relevant till today. And education, as we all know, produces the human capital to foster growth, and the successful small businesses fuel the transformation and the development of the economy. Sean, who was demonstrating how the foundation has benefited him, and attached to that is the Cyril Ramaphosa Education Trust, which I should tell you the little quick history about it, which started when I was Secretary General of the ANC. One young girl came to me and said, my grandfather was in the ANC, was one of the leaders during the boycott campaign of the 50s, and now I don't have anyone left to take me to school. I want you to make sure that I go to school. So I was Secretary General of the ANC, earning something like 2,500 Rand a month. And Done, Nicole, and I decided that we're going to start raising funds. And she came up with the idea that when you go to give speeches, like people were very interested in where South Africa is going, in the ANC's role, we said, if you want us to come and make a speech, we want you to donate to an education trust. And they started donating, and I put in my own money as well, and many other people contributed. And we started a bursary fund that is very unique in the sense that as we give these young people a bursary, we also adopt them. We actually look at them, we get involved in their entire life, family life, academic life, and give them the support they need, even at institutions where they are learning. Sean is a product of that, and today he has a job. Now, when he describes what he does, because I spent an evening, he spent an evening at our home. When he describes what he does, he says he is able to dismantle the engine of an aeroplane, a jumbo 747, dismantle it and put it together again. That's phenomenal. Now, like with late Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who, when he got on a plane, I think in Ethiopia, and he realized that there were black pilots who were going to fly the plane. He said, no. You black people, you could never fly this plane. And he wanted to get off. And like today, no one can believe that a Sean, a young boy from the dusty streets of Aiken, can actually dismantle a plane. He says he works for SAF Air now. And he said there's planes that are flying. He looks after them together with others, of course. He's been taught to repair the planes, dismantle them, and look at the parts, whether they're working or not, and put them all together. Who would have thought that a black man, who even yet 30, would be able to do that? And that has happened. That has happened because of the support he has received. Now, the funds that we raise through this golf challenge, they are earmarked for projects that are implemented for the foundation. And on your pamphlet, you will have seen where the funds have gone. Thus far, I think we've raised some 60 million rand since this golf challenges began, since 2018. And they have been used for 21 structures being built at disadvantaged schools and all. Now, one needs to just explain a bit how the Adopt a School Foundation works. When we started the foundation's work, we were really motivated to focus on infrastructure, brick and mortar. After I went to my school in Soweto, where I was invited by the principal to donate a fax machine. And fax machines were 3,000 rand, and I said to Donne, who was my PA then, now she's one of my bosses, pushes around. I said, let's buy it and just send it. And she said, you are coming with me to the school. And I went to the school in Soweto, Chirizi Primary School, and lo and behold, I found that they still had my records and my sister's records. When we started attending the school in 1962 and all that. But it was in horrible shape. They didn't have a library, they didn't have a science laboratory, they didn't have a staff room, the ablution blocks were horrible, the school was really dilapidated. And then we started the Adopt a School Foundation. But the model we then used was that if we put up a structure, it will be built by the parents. The parents themselves would be mobilized in whatever area, and they would participate in the building of the structure. We employ architects and engineers as full-time employees of the foundation, and they would go out and get project managers and to make sure that the work gets done. And they would recruit people in the community who know the work, and all we would do is to supervise them. And that is why the schools adopted by Adopt a School, in the main, that always happens, in the main, are never vandalized because they are built by the community takes ownership. And the parents themselves don't do it for free, of course. They get those jobs for the construction process at the time. We don't bring in a construction company from outside, and we do it cost effectively. We used to build a 30 classroom school for something like 40 million rand or so. And when you go to public schools that we build, sometimes we spend up to 200 million. So the cost effectiveness of all this, it's because we get the community involved, they become part of the project, and we produce quality products. We then progressed and said, it's all very well to look after the brick and mortar. You now need to look at the quality of education that is delivered in the context of enabling an environment that upholds the dignity of each learner. And that is why the adopted school became critical in setting up what we call the whole school development model, where you don't only look at brick and mortar, you look at the curriculum, the delivery of the education, the capability of the teachers and the leaders in the school. And with the multi-stakeholder partnerships, we were able to mobilize to get specialists. Specialists, for instance, when children go to school, many of our schools, we now do it to a large extent, and this is really good. And we've always seen the Dr. School as being a model builder. We build models that are then taken up by the public sector. And we started then looking for specialists, like your eye specialists, to go and check the children in the school, your speech therapists. And that is now a trend in many of our schools, which we are pleased about. And then we started working more and more at a district level. District level, that's what in part inspired the district development model that I said we should have in government. Because when you work at a district level, you're then able to see progress right across the system. We then decided to go and work at district level, and we tried in one province, it didn't quite work, with Kagiso Trust, which was led by Eric Mulobi. Fortunately, the other day I met his daughter. We then decided to go and work in the Free State. Took up 2 districts, Fezile Dabi and Muteo, and without really blowing our trumpet, the reason why the Free State continues to lead is because they embraced the whole school development process. They embraced it and they lead until today. Now, that has led to a real revolution. Now, slowly and surely, we're going to see this being spread throughout the country. As I said, the Dr. School is a model builder, and through a number of initiatives, we are able to bring in a number of partners that we work with. Some who are specialists in curriculum, some who are specialists in a number of areas, leadership, for instance. And we found that just taking the leadership of the school, the teachers, as well as the parents, the school governing body, and the SRC away for like 2 weekends and just working with them to address the problems in the school. In no time, the school just takes off. So we started this in Northwest to work at a district level, mini district level, where we started off working with 11 schools. And the pass rate in those 11 schools were like 37%. And we took the principals to a course at WITS for a year on a part-time basis. After that, the following years, the pass rate shot up to 75 to 80%, just focusing on that. So what this means is that our journey to producing a real world-class education system is progressing. It will take time because it's a big system. big system of 13 million young people, and with more than 1 million of them sitting down to write an exam. And in itself is a mammoth task. And if there is any department in the country that has a cohort of so many people that it interfaces with in a direct and focused way, it is the Department of Basic Education. But of course, health has many more people who get sick to go to clinics and so on. But the regularity of the same cohort being able to go to interface with the system, you find in education. So we are making progress. We will stick on to this, they call it the pills system of being checked with, what do you call it? It's called something. Yes, benchmarks. And we will stick to it. We're already in it. Time the results come out, everybody will say, oh, our education system is rotten, and because our children can't read for meaning and da-da-da-da. Yes, it will improve. When we started, you remember when we started even our matric pass rate measurement results, they were really, really small, but now they've gone up. And now we're seeing the real revolution that is coming through with the pass rates of our young people in Model C, no, not in Model A, in the quintile 1, 2, and 3. And that is the success that we should continue hoping to see. Now, I'd like to thank you all for participating in this. We really thank you, because the money that is raised here, as you heard, is going to be used for a number of projects in a number of schools, as the pamphlet shows. And it's a well-governed foundation which adheres to the best of governance processes. And tonight, I'd like to congratulate those who are going to be called up as winners, who excelled out of golf tournament today. I haven't played golf in about 3 years, but my drive was not so bad, and I got a par on one hole. So that's so I just wish we could continue being involved with good causes like this. There's no greater joy to be involved in improving the lives of young people, and we see the results. We see the Tin Swallows who are really coming through and improving their lives. And it means that we are on a path of making South Africa a better country. We have enormous problems. Problems, I sometimes think, are multiplied many more times than any other country, because we have to deal with our past, a horrible past, where deliberate laws were put in place to hold the majority back. It was not just prejudice, or it was not just neglect, it was deliberate. And they actually said it, we want them to be hewers of wood and drawers of water, that's all. And I remember one person that I got to know who said he grew up on a farm, and as he became more and more educated, the owner of the farm said, that's enough now, that's enough. I don't want black people who are going to be clever. So that's enough. And he was put to work even as a young person. So that was deliberate. We're having to deal with that. What apartheid bequeathed us is the most horrible education system. And changing an education system around takes more, in my view, 3, 4, or 5 lifetimes, because you just can't immediately change the practices, culture, and all that. So we're dealing with the present. What is the present? The present is every school. We want every school to be, a creme de la creme. We want every school to be like the private schools that we have. The private schools have all the but it requires resources. We are also dealing with the future. We've got to prepare our children for a future that's driven by digital technology, artificial intelligence. We're driven, we must for the future. So we're dealing with 3 time frames at the same time. And many countries tend to deal with 2 only, the current and the future. Even those countries that went through wars where there was destruction, like Germany and like Japan, with nuclear bombs or atomic bombs falling on, they had one strength, the education system, which had not been contaminated by a system of hatred and disadvantage, was able to lift them out of the destruction that had been wrought on their country. So as they dealt with the past, they had the tools to get out quickly. We are having to deal with the past where we don't have the tools, where the tools were not in existence, and so we've got to reconstruct everything that we are working with. And along the way, yes, we made some mistakes, but in the main, what we are seeing now 30 years later with Swallow's life is precisely where we want to be going. And so I say hail to Tinswalo to have made her life a real better life, and she's continued. And I will introduce you all to Tinswalo in time to come. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, before you leave, please come back on stage. We've got a bit of a surprise. Mr. President, Mr. President, you alluded to us earlier on that you had a phenomenal golfing partner throughout today. So we've got a surprise for him and you. Let me call him on stage, Mr. Hipakwe. Let's give him a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. President, this is what we've put together for phenomenal, young, upcoming, future of the golfing generation. Let's give him another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Witepe Hipakwe.
Come and hold.
We've got more prizes for you.
My God, look at that. Look at that. Wow.
So now he can have a memory of what today was like, alongside the tools that are going to make him an even better golfer. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well done.
Witepe Hipakwe.
Thank you, partner.
We wish you a great future in your journey. Mr. President, don't leave.
Okay.
I still need you on stage. There is another aspect of this. I spoke about the heat wave, Mr. President, that when the golfing started early this morning, it was very hot in Cape Town. Beautiful day regardless. But we do know that there's been a persistent force that has been ensuring that the like of yourself and other golfers that we had been entertaining on the course today do not faint or do not fall ill. So we'd like to call Dr. Millicent Hlajwayo from GEMS, who's been giving persistence to the Presidential Golf Day for the past 10 years. Dr. Millicent, where are you? Please join us on stage so we can thank you for your support. There she is. May we please have a round of applause. That is Dr. Millicent Hlajwayo, ladies and gentlemen, of GEMS, keeping our golfers as well as the president Did you play, Doctor?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I did.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's give a round of applause for the doctor, ladies and gentlemen. Wasn't only ensuring that the players were kept safe, but she also participated in the game. So we thank you so much, Dr. Shatwayo and James. Thank you so much.
I hope they deliver it to your home. Yeah.
Mr. President, I thank you. You may now have a
Oh, wonderful.
Your duties for the day are done. Thanks so much.
Good to see you.
Let's ensure that we thank the President, ladies and gentlemen, by acknowledging them all the way till he sits down. The Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation doing great things in ensuring that our kids are educated in safe spaces.